Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? It's Matt here from YoVideogames. My E3 2017 coverage continues with my hands-on impressions, and today I'd like to talk about something that's a little less popular. While I've covered some of the big titles of the show already, I think it's time to cover something that was probably a little more hidden away from the general mass audience view, and I'm going to talk about the game which was my sort of underdog or cult hit or surprise of the show, if you will. And that, of course, was Ys VIII. Now, Ys is a long-running action RPG series. I believe it turns 30 this year. Started on, I believe, Japanese PCs and kind of got its first foot in the door in America on the TurboGrafx CD, or Turbo CD. So, yeah, it's always kind of lived in the realm of obscurity in North America, partially because, again, its origins were on a very niche system, and then not all the sequels came out here. We got one version of Part 3 on the Super NES, but I don't know if we actually saw any Ys games after Part 3 till Part 6 on the PS2, and that was by Konami. So not only has it bounced around systems over its time getting translated and brought to North America, it's bounced around publishers a lot. And that's actually true of Ys VIII, which is coming out by, I believe, NISA America or NISA America. Maybe through, and the weird thing was it was kind of connected to Sega Atlus's booth at E3, so I'm not sure how that all flows in. Maybe they're just helping with distribution or something there, but regardless of the fact, Ys is a very anime-looking game, obviously, but don't let that fool you. In fact, one of the things I tweeted about at E3 was I couldn't really understand or believe that Ys VIII had better looking character designs than Xenoblade 2. I guess it's really not that hard to imagine. But people were asking, like, do you mean like the drawings or do you mean like the character models? And I'm gonna go out on a limb and just say both here. Although, yeah, they definitely don't have as much polygon or polish. So Ys VIII is, I believe, originally a Vita title. I was playing it on PS4 and it looks like a up-res 1080p version of a PS Vita title, but luckily that means that the game runs at a really solid frame rate, so that's pretty nice. So what exactly is Ys? Well, Ys usually stars the same main character, kind of like Zelda in a sense, but in these series you don't really have to play the other ones. Only the first two Ys games have any sort of connection between the two. After that, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, they're all very standalone. It's just about a guy named Adol who goes around to different lands around the world and helps solve their problems. Ys VIII, I guess, is a little different in that it's a story about a crew of people on a ship that get shipwrecked on an uninhabited island, and it's more about, I guess, discovering the island, or maybe it's not uninhabited, I don't know. It's the start of an RPG. I'm sure there's plenty of people on it. But it's kind of cool because not only do you have the main character Adol, there's also another character who's in the title, Lacrimosa of Dana. Dana being the other character you play as, and you swap between them, and they're in, I guess, at different places. And as the game plays through its story, you'll swap characters, or at least between those two. And even when you are playing as Adol, you can actually have your own party members, and you can change between them on the fly. Again, it's an action RPG. Now, what I think made this game seal the deal for me is two things, and that is that the game has parries and witch time. Now, they're called something else. They're called like flash something or whatever, flash move, flash break, and they really help the combat system shine in the title. So what it is when you're playing the game, you can press R1 to do a block, but if you block at the exact moment, you get this sort of a little bonus, which is kind of like a parry. But even better is that you press L1 and you roll. So it's just kind of your roll away, just like, you know, get Bayonetta. The thing is, if you roll right before an enemy hits you, you get slow motion for a very short amount of time. And this really makes the combat a lot more engaging than past Ys titles. The original Ys games were kind of funny because you actually didn't press an attack button, you literally just ran into things and watched their life bar chunk away at the bottom of the screen. Ever since going to Ys V, I believe, they've actually been using actual combat where you actually press a button to swing a sword. So this one is again more in line with that, where there is combat, you do have to swing a sword. And what's also really cool is as you level up, you'll gain abilities, which abilities you can map to the buttons where you hold down R1 and you press a button, such as any of the face buttons, like X, square, circle, triangle, and you'll do a super move. So lots of RPGs have done this before, but it's always a nice mechanic. And of course, you can swap in and out different types of special moves as you see fit, and they have their own usage of MP to use and all that jazz. But it's really cool, and it's nice that when you swap characters, you don't actually swap to where that party member is on the battlefield. When you swap characters, they just change right then and there to wherever you're standing. So adds a different type of dynamic to the real-time battle system, but it's also very quick. That's the one thing about Ys games, is that they have always been very, very, very fast-paced. This one's no different. The demo at E3, you were running around a very JRPG version of a rainforest. I think it was called the Coral Forest. So kind of had this sort of, I guess you could say, like, exposed coral, like a giant rainforest that had a bunch of dried up coral around it. You run and jump on. The sort of gameplay mechanic here was that you needed to find a certain type of gloves to climb the vines to get out of the forest area. So what that basically means is that, yes, there is obviously going to be generic equipment that you find and can equip for stat changing, but there's key items, obviously. So yeah, the whole point of the demo was you had to find the key item climbing gloves so that you could climb the vines, which of course would let you find a bunch of new extra treasure and get out of the forest. There were multiple bosses. There was a big giant ball sack turtle, and then at the end there is a big old giant chameleon with wings on a big log, and I think it was the final boss where the demo ended there. And that was all pretty cool. You couldn't hear it too well because, again, you can't really hear any games music on the show floor unless you have headphones on. But I would describe the music in the game as a power metal symphony. So kind of combining, the traditional, what you would think of, like, violins and other traditional symphonic sounding instruments with a bunch of power metal. Which actually works. I've been listening to some of the other OSTs recommended to me, and yeah, this series has a lot of pretty cool music. It's definitely, I think, been a staple for a lot of Falcom titles, because the developer Falcom, who did Legends in the Sky, Trails in the Sky, I'm mixing that up, I apologize, and a lot of other RPG series kind of had their sort of resurgence on the PSP days, and when Xseed started to get a hold of their titles and start publishing them in mass. But they've always done pretty good work. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see that the quality's always still there. Again, like graphically, you're not going to be blown away by it. It is coming to Steam as well as PS4 and Vita in September, which again keeps those 2 months super duper packed and hard on everyone's wallet. But you know what? I feel that if you like action RPGs, you like games with pretty darn good character designs, if that's important to you, and just really solid gameplay, I think this is a title you really should look out for. I think it's going to slip under a lot of people's radars, unfortunately, but hey, I'm just letting you know now that this is a title worth being excited about. It's a lot of fun to play. The combat's really engaging. It makes you want to get involved and right into the thick of things in combat, because you do have those parries and witch time elements. And then, of course, there's all the other looting involved with normal JRPGs as well. There seems to be a crafting system of some sort, because as you whack plants and rocks, you'll get ore and materials. So I actually don't know what that's for. And the game has actually, I believe, been out and available in Japan on the Vita for some time now. So it's not like you can't find out, spoilers for the game. So if you do want to play the game and you're interested and you don't want to get spoiled, I would be very careful looking up footage for the game on the internet right now, because again, it's been out in Japan, so I'm sure there's been plenty of playthroughs that have been posted. I'm not going to do that myself. I'm going to try to go into this game fresh, because I was super impressed with the title. I had no intention of playing, or I didn't even know it was going to be at the show, and it was there, and it was fun, and I would like to enjoy the full game on release. Obviously, it looks a hell of a lot better running on a PS4 or a Steam version, so that's always nice. But yeah, I think it's definitely a title worth looking into. Great music, great design, a lot of fun to play. I don't know what the mining or crafting system is about. I'm sure there's some tedious thing involved with crafting materials, but we'll find out though. I mean, the point is though, I think you should all, if you like this type of genre, you like this type of game, don't let this one pass you by. You might be surprised. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the channel. Later, dudes.